Victory is not seized by chance, it is prepared through wisdom. In my time, I taught that all warfare is based on deception, but what many forget is that true triumph comes from mastering 5 vital elements: the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, and method. These principles guided emperors, won battles, and carved peace from chaos. But in today's world, where uncertainty rules and supply chains falter, the battlefield has changed. Your war is not fought with swords or armies, but with knowledge, readiness, and choice. Just as generals once surveyed terrain and weather, you must now study inflation, scarcity, and the silence of empty shelves. To ignore these signs is to invite defeat. But if you understand the 5 elements of victory as I once taught them, you will outmaneuver panic and hardship alike. In this video, I will show you how these ancient truths still apply, how to command your household like a fortress, how to prepare for disruptions like a seasoned strategist, and how to prevail in times of food and resource crisis. Subscribe now to our channel and you'll never be caught unready. The wise prepare before the storm, the unwise suffer in silence. Let us begin. There was a time when armies clashed on open fields, when victory was measured in territory gained and enemies vanquished. I am Sun Tzu, and I wrote The Art of War not merely as a manual for combat, but as a philosophy of survival. Today, I speak to you of a different kind of war, one that unfolds not on battlefields, but in the quiet desperation of empty shelves and failed supply chains. In my time, I guided emperors through chaos. Now I will guide you through the uncertainty that looms over your world. The principles that won ancient wars will now secure your family's future. The 5 elements of victory: moral law, heaven, earth, commander, and method. These are not relics of the past. They are your weapons in an age of scarcity. Picture yourself standing in a grocery store, watching as panic spreads like wildfire. Others rush mindlessly, grabbing whatever they can reach. But you will be different. You will understand what they do not. That victory in times of crisis belongs to the strategist, not the reactive masses. Every day I watch as your world edges closer to disruption. Supply chains strain under the weight of global tensions. Weather patterns shift unpredictably, destroying crops and delaying shipments. Political uncertainties ripple through markets. These are not random events. They are the terrain of your battlefield. You may wonder why ancient military wisdom matters in your modern life. Consider this. When I spoke of knowing your enemy and knowing yourself, I was teaching more than combat strategy. I was revealing the fundamental truth that preparation defeats chaos. The same principles that once protected kingdoms will now shield your household from want and worry. Think of your home as a fortress, your pantry as an arsenal, your family as a unit that must move with unified purpose. In times of peace, the wise general prepares for war. In times of plenty, the wise provider prepares for scarcity. This is not paranoia, it is strategy. The 5 elements of victory guided armies through the fog of war. Today, they will guide you through the uncertainty of collapse. When others panic, you will remain composed. When others react, you will execute plans laid in advance. When others plead for help, you will stand ready to provide. This journey we begin today is not about stockpiling out of fear. It is about building strength through understanding. Each principle I share is a foundation stone of resilience. Each strategy is a shield against chaos. Each lesson is a step toward mastery. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched as preparation made the difference between survival and ruin. Now, I will show you how to adapt these timeless truths to your modern war of readiness. Listen carefully, for the wisdom I share has been tested in blood and refined through centuries. Your battlefield may be different, but the principles of victory remain unchanged. The time for learning is now. Before the storms gather and the shelves empty, let us begin your transformation from reactive consumer to strategic provider, from passive observer to active commander, from potential victim to certain victor. Welcome to the art of modern survival. In the chaos of battle, it is not the strongest soldier who survives, but the most unified army that prevails. The same truth governs survival in times of crisis. I have watched as floods ravaged cities and storms devastated regions. The communities that emerged strongest were not those with the most resources, but those bound together by an unshakable unity of purpose. Imagine your household as a small kingdom. Each member must understand their role, their purpose, their place in the greater strategy. This is the first element of victory, the moral law. It governs not just how we fight, but why we prepare. Without it, even the most elaborate preparations crumble like sandcastles before the tide. Consider what happened in New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina. While the media focused on chaos and looting, there were neighborhoods where people had trained together, planned together, and ultimately survived together. They knew each other's strengths, understood their collective weaknesses, and moved as one when crisis struck. This is the moral law in action, unity of purpose manifesting as unity of action. But building this unity requires more than mere words. It demands a transformation of mindset, a shift from individual survival to collective resilience. Think of the ancient Spartan households where every member, from the youngest to the eldest, understood their role in maintaining the strength of the whole. This is your model. Start with your immediate family. Create a council, much as I once advised emperors to maintain their war councils. Meet regularly, not in panic but in preparation. Discuss scenarios, assign responsibilities, create plans that everyone understands and accepts. A child who knows why you store food is more likely to respect rationing when it becomes necessary. A spouse who participates in planning is more likely to support necessary purchases and preparations. Beyond your household lies your extended community, neighbors, friends, fellow preparedness-minded individuals. These relationships must be cultivated in times of peace. Share knowledge, not fear. Build trust through small collaborations before crisis demands large ones. A neighbor who has borrowed your tools in good times is more likely to share their generator when the power fails. I have seen how isolation breeds vulnerability. The lone survivor, hoarding supplies and shunning contact, becomes a target in times of crisis. But the household integrated into a community network multiplies its strength through shared resources and knowledge. This is not mere theory. It is strategy proven through centuries of human conflict and disaster. Create systems that reinforce this unity. Regular meals where family discusses preparation goals. Community skill-sharing events where neighbors teach each other crucial abilities, from food preservation to emergency medical care. Every such interaction strengthens the bonds that will hold firm when chaos erupts. Your preparations must include protocols for communication and coordination. In ancient battles, armies used drums and flags to coordinate movements. Today, you need both high-tech and low-tech solutions. Establish rally points, communication procedures, and decision-making hierarchies before they become necessary. The power of community extends beyond physical preparation. It creates psychological resilience. When people know they are part of a prepared group, their response to crisis changes. Panic gives way to purpose. Fear transforms into focused action. This is why armies train together, not just to build skills, but to forge bonds that withstand the stress of conflict. However, building this unity requires careful balance. Not everyone will share your level of commitment to preparation. Some may even mock or criticize your efforts. This is where the wisdom of selective trust comes into play. Build your core group carefully, expanding circles of trust based on demonstrated commitment and shared values. Remember, the goal is not to create a survival compound, but to build a resilient community. The difference is crucial. A compound walls itself off from the world, while a resilient community remains engaged while maintaining its preparedness. This balance between openness and security between individual and collective needs is what the moral law teaches us to master. Let others chase individual solutions to collective problems. You will build something stronger, a network of mutual support founded on shared understanding and purpose. This is how communities have survived throughout history. This is how you will thrive in whatever challenges await. Your task now is clear. Begin building these bonds of trust and understanding. Start with your household, extend to your closest allies, and gradually build the networks that will support you when traditional systems fail. The time invested in this foundation will yield returns beyond measure when crisis demands collective action. Unity of purpose becomes unity of action. This is the first element of victory. The greatest victory is that which requires no battle. In the modern arena of scarcity, your most powerful weapon is not what you own, but how you think. I have watched countless times as panic swept through crowds like wildfire, turning ordinary people into desperate hoarders. This is where the true war begins, not in the aisles of stores, but in the battlefield of the mind. Imagine standing in a grocery store as news of a coming storm breaks. Watch as the masses rush in, their faces twisted with fear, grabbing whatever they can reach. This is not preparation. It is reaction. This is not strategy. It is surrender to fear. You must be different. You must understand the psychology of panic and rise above it. In ancient battles, armies would often break not from physical exhaustion, but from mental collapse. The same principle applies to modern crisis response. Those who succumb to panic make poor decisions, exhaust their resources, and ultimately create the very scarcity they fear. But you will understand a deeper truth. Panic is a choice, and preparation is its antidote. Consider what happens in the mind during a crisis. The primitive brain takes control, flooding the system with stress hormones. Critical thinking shuts down. Long-term planning gives way to short-term reactivity. This is why people fight over the last package of toilet paper, or empty shelves of canned goods they'll never consume. They are not thinking, they are reacting. Your advantage lies in understanding this pattern. While others react, you will respond. While they panic, you will execute plans laid in advance. This is not just about having supplies. It's about maintaining the mental clarity to use them wisely. A stored food supply means nothing if fear drives you to consume it needlessly. I teach you now the art of psychological warfare against panic itself. First, understand that fear is contagious, but so is calm. In ancient armies, a single steadfast warrior could hold a line that would otherwise break. In modern crisis, your composed presence can anchor not just your family, but your entire community. Create mental triggers that activate planning instead of panic. When others rush to stores, let it remind you to calmly review your inventory. When media broadcasts crisis, let it prompt you to assess and adjust your strategies. Transform external chaos into internal order. But this requires practice. Just as warriors trained with weapons in times of peace, you must train your mind to remain steady under pressure. Run scenarios in your head. Visualize yourself maintaining composure while others lose theirs. This mental rehearsal builds neural pathways that will activate automatically in real crisis. Develop what I call the strategic pause, a moment of deliberate stillness before taking action. In battle, this could mean the difference between walking into an ambush or spotting it in advance. In modern preparation, it means asking crucial questions before making decisions. Is this purchase driven by need or fear? Is this action part of my strategy or a reaction to others' panic? Learn to recognize the triggers that provoke panic in others. Weather reports, political tensions, supply chain disruptions. These are not signals for fear. They are intelligence to be processed calmly and incorporated into your planning. When others see threats, you will see information. Build what I call mental fortifications, psychological barriers against panic contagion. These include daily preparation reviews that remind you of your readiness, regular inventory checks that reinforce your position of strength, calm discussion of scenarios with your family that builds confident response patterns, strategic relationships with like-minded individuals who share your composed approach. Remember, true preparation is not about having the most supplies, it's about maintaining the clearest mind. A panicked prepper with a full pantry is less prepared than a calm strategist with half the supplies but twice the mental discipline. This is why I teach the difference between hoarding and strategic stockpiling. Hoarding is driven by fear and scarcity mindset. Strategic stockpiling is driven by clear assessment and methodical planning. The first depletes resources needlessly. The second preserves them wisely. Your mission is to become a beacon of calm in the chaos of crisis. When others rush, you will walk purposefully. When they grab randomly, you will select strategically. When they spread panic, you will radiate confidence born of preparation. Practice this mindset now, before it is tested. Each time you shop, each time you review your supplies, each time you update your plans, do it with deliberate calm. This is not just practice. It is psychological programming that will serve you when others lose their composure. In the end, the greatest victory over panic is never having to face it at all. Because when you are truly prepared, mentally, physically, and strategically, panic finds no purchase in your mind. This is the power of psychological preparedness, and it is your strongest shield against the chaos to come. Remember, the battle for survival is won first in the mind, then in the world. Master your thoughts, and you master your fate. In ancient warfare, victory often belonged to those who could read the heavens. The general who understood the rhythms of weather and seasons held advantage over those who fought blindly against nature's cycles. Today, this wisdom takes new form in understanding the seasonal patterns that govern modern supply chains. Imagine the Earth as a vast battlefield where the changing of seasons dictates the flow of resources. Just as I once taught generals to watch the sky for signs of advantage, I now teach you to read the seasonal signals that forecast abundance and scarcity. This is the second element of victory, heaven, or the mastery of timing and conditions. The modern world has fooled many into believing they've conquered seasonal limitations. Grocery stores offer summer fruits in winter and fresh vegetables year-round, but this illusion of perpetual abundance rests on fragile foundations. One severe storm, one failed harvest, one disrupted shipping route, and the illusion shatters. Let us decode the calendar of scarcity, starting with winter's approach. As temperatures drop, energy costs rise. This ripples through the entire supply chain. Transportation costs increase, greenhouse operations become more expensive, cold storage facilities strain under higher operating costs. These pressures manifest first in subtle ways: slight price increases, smaller packaging, fewer options on shelves. But the wise observer sees deeper patterns. In late autumn, certain crops enter their final harvest. Root vegetables, winter squash, apples, these become premium items by midwinter. The strategic purchaser builds their stores during peak harvest, when prices are lowest and quality highest. This is not merely shopping, it is tactical resource acquisition. Spring brings its own challenges. The period between winter's end and new growth, what ancient farmers called the hungry gap, tests even well-prepared communities. Stored produce begins to degrade. Fresh options become limited. Prices spike as old stocks dwindle. And new crops aren't yet ready. This is when your careful autumn preparation proves its worth. Summer seems abundant, but contains hidden threats. Extreme heat disrupts transportation. Droughts stress crops. Air conditioning costs strain cold storage facilities. The wise prepper uses summer's abundance to prepare for winter's scarcity, just as ancient armies gathered supplies during peaceful months to prepare for campaigns ahead. Learn to read the early warnings of seasonal disruption. Rising fuel prices. 3 months before winter? Expect food cost increases, unusual frost in growing regions. Prepare for produce shortages weeks later, early heat wave. Watch for stressed crops and reduced yields. But mere knowledge of these patterns is not enough. You must transform this understanding into action. Create what I call a seasonal acquisition strategy, a detailed plan that aligns your purchasing with nature's cycles. Late summer, bulk purchase of grains and legumes before winter transport costs rise. Fall, heavy investment in root crops and winter squash for long-term storage. Winter, focus on replenishing shelf-stable items while others deplete their stores. Spring, strategic purchasing of last season's storage crops before prices peak. This is not just theory. It is practical warfare against scarcity. When others complain of high winter produce prices, you will rely on your autumn preparations. When spring's hungry gap empties store shelves, you will draw from carefully planned reserves. Consider the citrus cycle as an example of strategic timing. Peak harvest runs from late fall through winter. This is when quality is highest and prices lowest. The strategic purchaser not only buys fresh citrus then, but preserves it through dehydration, canning, and juice storage. By understanding this single pattern, you secure vitamin C sources for the entire year. Your preparation calendar must account for both natural and artificial seasons. Black Friday sales, holiday discounts, post-holiday clearances. These are modern seasons of abundance you can exploit. But unlike the panic buyers who purchase randomly, you will buy with purpose, guided by your understanding of annual cycles. Learn from the great historical strategists who maintained supply lines across vast territories. They succeeded not by fighting against seasonal changes, but by adapting to them. Your household supply line must show the same flexibility. Summers. Abundance must offset winter's scarcity. Fall's harvest must carry you through spring's scarcity. This understanding of seasonal patterns extends beyond food. Energy costs, fuel prices, clothing, tools all follow cyclical patterns that the strategic prepper can exploit. Buy winter gear in summer, stock fuel before prices rise, purchase fans and cooling equipment in winter. This is how resources are accumulated efficiently. But remember, these patterns are not fixed. Climate change disrupts traditional growing seasons. Global events alter shipping patterns. The truly strategic prepper combines traditional seasonal wisdom with constant observation of changing conditions. This adaptability, this fusion of ancient understanding with modern awareness, is your advantage. In the end, mastery of seasonal patterns is about more than saving money or securing supplies. It is about aligning your household with the natural rhythms that govern resource availability. This alignment, this harmony between preparation and nature's cycles is what I call strategic synchronization. Let others chase resources in panic when seasons change. You will flow with these changes, prepared in advance, secure in your understanding of nature's patterns. This is the wisdom of heaven applied to modern survival. In ancient warfare, a single storm could turn the tide of battle. Today, the relationship between weather and victory remains unchanged, though the battlefield has transformed. I have watched as floods in distant lands empty your local shelves, as droughts in foreign fields raise prices in your markets. This is the new face of weather warfare, fought not with armies but with supply chains. Imagine the global food system as an intricate web where each strand connects to countless others. A frost in Brazil's coffee regions ripples through this web until it reaches your morning cup. A drought in India's wheat belt sends tremors through the world's grain markets. These are not isolated events. They are the first shots in a weather war that affects every household. Consider California's agricultural valleys, where much of your nation's produce grows. One severe storm system can delay planting or destroy crops, creating shortages that won't be felt for weeks or months. The strategic prepper understands these delay patterns. They know that today's weather event becomes tomorrow's supply crisis. But weather's impact extends beyond crop destruction. Transportation networks, the supply lines of this modern war, are incredibly vulnerable to nature's fury. Hurricanes shut down ports, stranding shipments at sea. Snowstorms close highways, trapping food deliveries. Floods wash out rail lines, breaking distribution chains. Heat waves force trucks to reduce loads or risk breakdown. This is why I teach the concept of weather intelligence gathering. Just as ancient generals maintained networks of scouts, you must develop systems for monitoring weather patterns that could affect your supplies. This isn't about watching your local forecast, it's about tracking weather in key agricultural and transportation regions. When floods hit the Mississippi River Valley, grain shipments stall. When ice storms strike Texas, fuel distribution falters. When wildfires rage in California, produce prices spike nationwide. These are not coincidences. They are predictable patterns that the strategic prepper can anticipate and prepare for. But weather is only half the equation. Human conflict, war, trade disputes, political tensions intersects with these natural disruptions to create compound crises. A drought becomes more devastating when combined with export restrictions. A storm's impact multiplies when it hits regions already stressed by conflict. Consider how these forces combine. A late frost damages wheat crops in Ukraine. Political tensions restrict exports from the region. Global grain prices surge in response. Transportation costs rise due to fuel price increases. Local food prices spike as multiple pressures converge. This is the chain reaction that transforms local weather events into global supply challenges. But while others see only chaos, you will recognize patterns and opportunities. When drought threatens California's tomato crop, you'll preserve extra during the previous season's abundance. When floods threaten Midwest grain transportation, you'll secure your stores before prices rise. Your preparation strategy must account for these compound effects. Create what I call disruption scenarios, detailed analyses of how weather events could combine with human factors to affect your supplies. Scenario 1. Summer drought reduces crop yields while fuel costs rise. Response: bulk purchase of affected items before price increases hit. Scenario 2. Winter storms disrupt transportation while holiday demand peaks. Response: strategic stockpiling of key items weeks before potential disruption. Scenario 3. Spring floods affect planting while global grain reserves are low. Response: long-term storage of grain products ahead of predicted shortages. This is not paranoia, it is strategic foresight. Just as I once taught generals to prepare for multiple battle conditions, you must ready your household for various disruption combinations. The goal is not to predict exact scenarios, but to build resilience against likely patterns of disruption. Develop what I call weather-aware purchasing patterns. When meteorologists predict a severe hurricane season, increase your water and shelf-stable food reserves. When drought threatens key growing regions, secure supplies of affected products before shortages develop. This is how weather intelligence becomes survival advantage. But remember, weather's impact on supplies often follows indirect paths. A freeze in Florida affects more than orange juice prices. It increases demand for alternatives, strains transportation systems, and raises energy costs. The strategic prepper thinks through these cascading effects, preparing not just for primary impacts, but for secondary and tertiary consequences. Your household must become a weather-hardened fortress, prepared for both direct and indirect impacts of nature's fury. This means maintaining flexible storage systems that can accommodate sudden necessity, developing preservation skills to take advantage of pre-disruption abundance, building relationships with local suppliers who understand these patterns, creating communication networks to share weather intelligence with allies. Most importantly, you must maintain what I call weather wisdom, the ability to read not just current conditions, but to anticipate how weather events will ripple through the supply chain. This wisdom, combined with strategic preparation, transforms weather from threat to opportunity. Let others be surprised by weather's impact on their supplies. You will see these patterns in advance, prepare accordingly, and maintain abundance, while others face scarcity. This is how weather wisdom becomes survival advantage. In warfare, timing is everything. The general who moves too soon exposes his strategy. The one who moves too late finds himself trapped. Today, I teach you to read the subtle signals that mark the approach of scarcity, the quiet warnings that precede empty shelves and panic buying. Imagine standing in your local store weeks before others sense danger. You notice the first signs: slightly wider gaps between products, familiar brands missing, package sizes shrinking while prices remain the same. These are not random changes. They are the early warning system of the strategic prepper. The clock of collapse keeps time in subtle ways. Just as I once taught generals to watch for dust clouds that betrayed approaching armies, I now teach you to recognize the dust clouds of modern crisis. These signals appear in layers, each one more urgent than the last. First come the whispers, the early indicators that most ignore. Products rearranged to hide empty spaces, temporary out-of-stock notices that never resolve, subtle recipe changes. In processed foods, longer delivery times for routine orders, unexplained limits on common items, then follow the echoes, signs that alert the observant. Major brands disappearing from shelves, sharp price increases on staple goods, store hours suddenly reduced, staff shortages in key positions, shipping delays becoming routine. Finally sound the alarms, signals that even the unaware notice: empty shelves in multiple aisles, panic buying of essential items, credit card limits at registers, supply chain disruptions in news, government, reassurances about stability. But knowing these signs is only the beginning. The strategic prepper must develop what I call temporal awareness, understanding not just what signals appear, but when they appear in relation to each other. This is how patterns become predictions. Consider the sequence of collapse in modern supply chains. Manufacturing disruption occurs first, often months before visible impact. Transportation issues follow, creating sporadic shortages. Retail adaptations begin, smaller packages, fewer options. Price increases accelerate as supplies tighten. Public awareness triggers final phase of panic buying. Your advantage lies in recognizing these stages early and acting accordingly. When you spot manufacturing disruption, you move to secure critical supplies. When transportation issues emerge, you deepen your reserves. When retail adaptations begin, you accelerate your preparation timeline. But timing alone is not enough. You must also understand the rhythm of response. I teach what I call the preparation calendar, a strategic timeline that guides your actions. 6 months out, early warning phase. Increase normal purchasing by 10-15%. Focus on shelf-stable staples. Build water storage systems. Establish alternative supply lines. 3 months out, acceleration phase. Strategic bulk purchases of key items. Rotation of older supplies. Equipment checks and updates. Communication system. Testing 1 month out. Final preparation phase. Daily inventory assessments. Cash reserves secured. Full testing of all systems. Community network activation. This is not panic buying. It is strategic acquisition. Each purchase, each preparation, follows a carefully planned sequence. You move like water, flowing smoothly toward readiness, while others remain stagnant in complacency. Learn to recognize what I call false signals, temporary disruptions that mimic serious collapse. A weather event might empty shelves briefly. A holiday rush might cause temporary shortages. The strategic prepper distinguishes between these temporary disruptions and true systemic threats. Develop verification systems for your observations. Track price changes across multiple stores. Monitor online availability of key items. network with others in different regions, follow industry-specific news sources, watch for pattern confirmation across sectors. Most importantly, understand the psychology of timing. Move too soon and you may overcommit resources. Move too late and you compete with panic buyers. The sweet spot lies in between, what I call the golden hour of preparation, when signals are clear but crowds haven't yet noticed. Your household must become a sensor network, with every member trained to notice and report relevant changes. Children mention school lunch menu changes, partners note workplace supply issues, friends share regional variations, community members provide local intelligence. This network creates what I call distributed awareness, a broader view of developing situations than any individual could maintain. This awareness transforms into tactical advantage when crisis approaches. Remember, the goal is not to predict exact moments of collapse, but to recognize the momentum of events. Like a skilled surfer reading waves, you learn to position yourself ahead of approaching change. This position, this perfect timing, is what separates the strategic prepper from the panic buyer. Let others wait for obvious signals. You will. Read the subtle signs, move with purpose, and secure your position while paths remain clear. This is the art of temporal warfare in the age of supply chain collapse. In ancient warfare, the wise general knew not only where armies clashed, but where supplies were stored. Today's battlefield is the marketplace, and your victory depends on knowing where true abundance hides. I have walked the aisles of modern commerce, and I tell you, the obvious paths are often the least rewarding. Imagine your local retail landscape as a tactical map. The prominent stores, your Walmarts, Costco's, and major chains are like fortified cities, visible to all, and targeted first in times of crisis. But just as ancient armies maintained hidden supply caches, today's retail world contains secret stockpiles unknown to the masses. Consider first the architecture of large retail stores. Front zones designed for impulse buying, middle aisles holding overstock, back areas concealing bulk supplies, hidden clearance sections in unexpected corners, secondary storage visible only. To the observant, the strategic shopper understands these zones and how to exploit them. Skip the front displays. They're designed to slow you down. Head to back aisles first, where real deals hide. Look high and low. Eye-level products move fastest. Check end caps on both sides. Different prices often exist. Learn delivery schedules. Timing equals advantage, but true mastery requires looking beyond obvious sources. Consider what I call the invisible supply lines, ethnic markets, often better stocked in crisis, different supply chains than major stores, unique preservation options, better prices on bulk staples, strong community connections, restaurant supply, stores, open to public but rarely visited bulk packaging at wholesale prices, commercial-grade storage containers, different supply chains than retail, more stable inventory levels, agricultural supply centers, feed-grade grains suitable for storage, bulk salt and minerals, commercial preservation supplies, equipment for food processing, direct farmer connections. These alternative sources follow different patterns than regular retail. They order through different distributors. Their customers have different buying habits. They maintain different stock levels. Their prices follow different cycles. Their shortages occur at different times. Understanding these patterns creates strategic advantage. When mainstream stores run low, these alternative sources often remain well stocked. But this knowledge must be gained before a crisis hits. These are not places to discover in emergency. Learn what I call strategic store mapping, primary zones, major retail chains for basic supplies, membership clubs for bulk purchases, grocery stores for rotating stock, secondary zones, ethnic markets for specialized items, restaurant supply for bulk basics, agricultural centers for raw materials, tertiary zones, direct farm connections, community co-ops, buying clubs, online suppliers. Each zone requires different tactical approaches. In primary zones, shop during off-peak hours, learn markdown schedules, build relationships with staff, watch for pattern changes, Monitor stock rotation in secondary zones. Establish legitimacy. Early learn specialized terminology. Understand bulk packaging. Build supplier relationships. Master storage requirements in tertiary zones. Join community groups. Participate. In bulk orders, share transportation costs. Maintain regular contact support during slow times. Most importantly, understand the hidden geography of storage, commercial districts, restaurant supply warehouses, food service distributors, commercial, storage facilities, wholesale markets, distribution centers, industrial areas, processing plants, packaging facilities, cold storage units, grain storage, transport hubs. These locations often sell to public but rarely advertise. They require what I call commercial camouflage, the ability to navigate business-to-business environments comfortably, dress appropriately, use industry terminology, understand ordering systems, know payment requirements, respect business protocols. Your preparation strategy must include regular reconnaissance of these zones, monthly visits to track inventory, seasonal price monitoring, relationship maintenance, supply line verification, alternative route planning. Remember, the obvious path is often the most dangerous. While others crowd major retailers, you will move quietly through alternative supply lines. While they deplete visible stock, you will access hidden abundance. This is how the strategic prepper maintains supply lines when others fail. Let others chase dwindling supplies in obvious places. You will understand the true geography of abundance, moving seamlessly between zones, maintaining multiple supply lines, ensuring your household's security through superior tactical knowledge of the retail terrain. In ancient warfare, armies had to adapt their strategies to the terrain, whether fighting in mountains, deserts, or forests. Today, your living space is your terrain, and mastering its unique characteristics determines your readiness. I have studied how different dwellings demand different approaches, and I tell you, there is no single solution, only intelligent adaptation. Imagine your living space as a fortress that must be optimized for both defense and sustenance. Whether you command a sprawling rural compound or defend an urban apartment, the principles of strategic storage remain constant, though their application varies dramatically. Let us first understand the core challenges of different terrains. Urban apartments, limited square footage, shared walls, and temperature fluctuations, restricted modification options, higher security concerns, vertical storage potential. Suburban homes, multiple storage zones, climate control options, modification flexibility, garage and outdoor space, basement potential. Rural properties, extensive storage options, off-grid possibilities, multiple building usage, natural storage features, environmental challenges. Each terrain demands its own strategic approach. In urban environments, think vertically. Wall-mounted storage systems, underbed rolling containers, overdoor organizational units, furniture with hidden compartments, ceiling-mounted storage solutions. For suburban warfare, exploit every zone. Basement, cool storage areas, garage workspace and storage attic, dry goods storage, crawl space, emergency caches, under-stair storage systems. Rural commanders can implement broader strategies, root cellars for natural cooling, outbuildings for bulk storage, underground caches for security, greenhouse attachment for fresh food, multiple backup locations, but terrain mastery requires more than knowing where to store. It demands understanding how environment affects supplies. Temperature zones, cool zones, 50-60 degrees Celsius for root vegetables. Cold zones, 32-40 degrees Celsius for fresh produce. Warm zones, 60-70 degrees Celsius for grains. Hot zones, 70 degrees Celsius for honey and salt. Frozen zones for meat and dairy humidity. Considerations: dry areas for paper goods, moderate humidity. For grains, high humidity. For root storage, controlled environments. For electronics, moisture-proof zones. For metals, learn what I call environmental adaptation techniques. For hot climates, insulated storage containers, solar-powered ventilation, underground storage options, thermal barriers, night cooling systems for cold regions, freeze protection methods, insulated storage areas, heat sink systems, thermal mass usage, strategic heat placement for humid areas, dehumidification systems, moisture, barrier implementation, ventilation control, desiccant usage, rotation, acceleration. Your storage strategy must account for multiple security layers, physical security, reinforced entry points, hidden storage areas, discrete organization, multiple cache, locations camouflage techniques, environmental security, temperature monitoring, humidity control, pest prevention, light protection, air quality management, operational security, quiet acquisition methods, discrete rotation systems, normal appearance, maintenance neighbor, awareness management, regular security audits. Most importantly, develop what I call adaptive storage protocols for limited space, vacuum-sealed compression, modular storage systems, multipurpose furniture, rotating stock methods, space-maximizing containers for extensive space, zoned storage areas, bulk storage systems, long-term preservation, multiple access points, redundant locations for challenging environments, climate mitigation techniques, alternative storage methods, environmental monitoring backup systems, emergency relocation plans. Remember, your terrain dictates your tactics, but never your strategy. The principles of preservation remain constant, only their implementation changes. A small apartment properly optimized can hold more critical supplies than a poorly organized warehouse. Let others bemoan their spatial limitations. You will. Understand how to maximize every cubic foot, adapt to environmental challenges, and maintain security regardless of your terrain. This is how the strategic prepper transforms living space into survival advantage. In ancient times, a general's greatness was measured not by the size of their army, but by their ability to transform ordinary people into an extraordinary force. Today, your household is your army, and your leadership will determine its readiness. I have observed how the strongest households operate like well-oiled military units, and I tell you, true preparation begins with command. Imagine your home as a command center where every member plays a vital role in maintaining readiness. Just as I once taught generals to organize their forces, I now teach you to structure your household for maximum resilience. This is not about ruling with an iron fist. It is about creating a unified, purposeful team. The foundations of household. Command rest on 5 pillars: strategic vision, clear goals and objectives, long-term planning frameworks, resource allocation strategies, risk assessment protocols, adaptation capabilities, operational systems, inventory management, rotation schedules, training programs, communication protocols, emergency procedures, team development, role assignments, skill building cross-training, motivation maintenance unity building, resource management, supply tracking, budget allocation, storage, optimization, consumption, monitoring, waste reduction quality control, standard operating procedures, regular inspections, performance metrics, improvement processes, success validation. Begin by establishing what I call command presence, the ability to lead without dominating. Speak with quiet authority. Listen more than you talk. Lead by example. Maintain calm under pressure. Show unwavering commitment. Your household members must understand their roles: primary team, resource manager, inventory specialist, equipment maintainer, security coordinator, medical readiness officer support roles, communication liaison, training coordinator, morale officer, documentation specialist, community connector. Even children can contribute meaningfully, help with inventory counts, learn basics, preparation skills, assist with rotation tasks, practice emergency procedures, develop situational awareness, implement what I call command cycles, regular rhythms that maintain readiness, daily operations, status checks, supply verification security, sweeps communication updates, task assignments, weekly procedures, inventory reviews, training sessions, system checks, plan updates, team meetings, monthly protocols, deep inspections, skill assessments, strategy reviews, resource audits, performance evaluations, but leadership requires more than procedures, it demands psychological mastery. Motivation. Management celebrate small victories, acknowledge contributions, share success stories, address concerns promptly, maintain positive focus, stress mitigation, regular decompression, clear communication, problem-solving support, emotional awareness, unity reinforcement, crisis leadership, calm decision-making, clear direction giving, quick problem-solving, team coordination, morale maintenance. Develop what I call command, intelligence, the ability to read and respond to your household's needs, physical needs, rest requirements, nutrition status, health monitoring, comfort levels, energy management, mental states, stress indicators, motivation levels, learning readiness, focus capacity, emotional stability, team dynamics, communication patterns, cooperation levels, conflict indicators, unity measures, trust factors. Most importantly, maintain what I call command balance, the ability to be both leader and team member. Leadership. Modes. Direct when necessary, guide when possible, support when needed, learn when appropriate, adapt as required. Remember, a household is not a dictatorship. It is a cooperative unit working toward shared survival goals. Your role as commander is to facilitate, coordinate, and inspire, not to dominate or control. Let others run their homes like loose confederations of individuals. You will build a coordinated team, each member understanding their role, all working together toward common objectives. This is how the strategic prepper transforms a household into a resilient command. In ancient battles, victory often hinged not on strength of arms, but on the speed and wisdom of decisions made in chaos. Today's crises demand the same decisive clarity. I have witnessed how split-second choices determine survival, and I tell you, the ability to make clear decisions under pressure is your most vital weapon. Imagine yourself in the moment. Crisis strikes. A cyber attack has crippled the power grid, a natural disaster approaches your region, or panic buying has begun in your city. Just as I once taught generals to think clearly amid the clash of swords, I now teach you to maintain decision clarity when others succumb to chaos. The foundation of crisis decision-making rests on what I call the 4 pillars of command: information gathering, rapid situation assessment, multiple source verification, pattern recognition, threat evaluation, resource inventory analysis, process, priority identification, risk assessment, option generation, consequence mapping, timeline projection decision framework, clear criteria establishment, alternative comparison, resource allocation, implementation planning, backup strategy, development execution. Protocol. Clear communication, swift implementation, progress monitoring, adjustment capability, outcome evaluation, but speed alone is not enough. You must develop what I call strategic pause. 3 seconds to breathe, 5 seconds to assess, 10 seconds to decide, 30 seconds to communicate, 60 seconds to initiate action. Learn to recognize decision triggers. Immediate action required. Direct physical threats, infrastructure failure, medical emergencies, security breaches, resource critical. Point short-term decisions, weather threats, supply disruptions, community issues, equipment failures. Transportation challenges. Long-term choices, location changes, resource allocation, strategic partnerships, equipment investments, training priorities, implement. The decision matrix I developed for rapid assessment. Threat level, immediate danger, approaching risk, potential concern, future consideration, background issue, resource impact, critical depletion, significant strain, moderate usage, minor consumption, negligible effect, time pressure, immediate response hours, available days to decide, weeks to plan, months to prepare. Most critically, master what I call decision flow, the ability to move smoothly through crisis response. Assessment phase, gather critical information, evaluate immediate threats, check resource status, review available options, consider consequences. Decision phase, select primary strategy, identify backup plans, allocate resources, assign responsibilities, set timeline. Implementation phase, communicate clearly, execute swiftly, monitor progress, adjust as needed. Document results, but remember, decisions must be both swift and wise. Develop these critical skills: mental clarity, emotional control, focus maintenance. Priority, identification bias recognition, stress management, tactical thinking, pattern recognition. Resource optimization, risk evaluation, opportunity. Identification, consequence projection, strategic vision, long-term impact assessment, secondary effect consideration, recovery plan, integration, future preparation. Lesson incorporation, your decision-making must account for multiple factors: physical constraints, available resources, time limitations, energy levels, environmental conditions, physical capabilities, psychological elements, team morale, stress levels, fear management, confidence maintenance, unity, preservation, external factors, community impact, legal considerations, social dynamics, economic effects, political implications. Remember, in crisis, the space between stimulus and response is where victory is won or lost. Your ability to make clear, decisive choices while others freeze will determine your survival. Let others become paralyzed by fear or act rashly from panic. You will maintain the precious balance between speed and wisdom, between action and consideration. This is how the strategic prepper transforms chaos into opportunity through superior decision-making. In ancient armies, strength came not from individual warriors, but from the unity of the whole. Today, your family is your army, and their training determines your collective survival. I have observed how the strongest families operate as seamless units, and I tell you, the transformation from family to team requires both art and science. Imagine your household as a special forces unit where each member, from the youngest child to the eldest grandparent, contributes unique capabilities to collective survival. Just as I once taught generals to build armies from diverse recruits, I now teach you to forge your family into a resilient team. The foundation of family preparation rests on 5 training principles: age-appropriate roles, child-specific tasks, teen responsibilities, adult leadership, elder wisdom integration, cross-generational support skill development, basic survival skills, emergency protocols, resource management, communication systems, team coordination, psychological preparation, stress management, fear control, unity building, confidence development, resilience training, knowledge transfer, clear instruction, practically, application, regular practice, performance feedback, continuous improvement, team integration, role coordination support systems, backup procedures, mutual assistance, unity reinforcement. Begin with what I call family role mapping. Children, ages 5 to 12. Inventory assistance, basic gear, maintenance, simple communication tasks, emergency kit, familiarity, safety procedure. Practice. Teenagers, ages 13 to 17. Equipment operation, supply organization, communication coordination, basic medical support security. Assistance adults. Strategic planning, resource management, training coordination, emergency response team leadership elders, knowledge preservation, skill teaching experience, sharing, morale support, wisdom council. Implement what I call training cycles, regular periods of skill building, daily practice, communication checks, basic skill review, equipment familiarity, protocol rehearsal, team coordination, weekly training, scenario practice, skill development, equipment, maintenance knowledge, sharing, team building, monthly. Exercises, full scenario drills, role rotation practice, system testing, skills assessment. Team evaluation, but training must be engaging. Develop what I call preparation games. For children, inventory, treasure hunts, emergency kit races, communication, games, equipment naming contests, safety procedure songs for teens, resource management challenges, equipment maintenance competitions, emergency response scenarios, team leadership exercises, skill-building contests for adults, decision-making simulations, crisis response exercises, resource allocation games, team coordination challenges, strategy development sessions. Most importantly, maintain what I call training balance, making preparation part of daily life. Integration methods, morning readiness, checks, dinner table discussions, weekend skill building, family preparation time, regular team meetings, motivation, systems, achievement recognition, skill level advancement, team success celebration, individual accomplishment, family unity, reinforcement progress, tracking, skill development logs, training completion records, performance assessments, team capability measures, unity level evaluation. Remember, a family trained together survives together. Each member must understand not just their role, but how it fits into the larger strategy. Young children become supply scouts, learning to spot needed items and monitor inventory levels. Teenagers transform into tactical support, mastering equipment and backing up adult operators. Adults develop into unit leaders, coordinating resources and directing operations. Elders become wisdom keepers, sharing experience and maintaining morale. Let others treat preparation as an individual pursuit. You will build a family team where each member strengthens the whole, where preparation becomes a shared mission rather than a solitary burden. This is how the strategic prepper transforms family bonds into survival advantage. In ancient warfare, armies that controlled their food supply controlled their destiny. Today, your pantry is your arsenal, and its depth determines your independence. I have studied the science of long-term food storage, and I tell you, building a 5-year pantry is not just about quantity, it is about strategic design. Imagine your food storage as a fortress, built in layers, each defending against a different duration of crisis. Just as I once taught generals to establish supply lines that could sustain extended campaigns, I now teach you to create food security that spans years rather than months. The foundation of long-term food storage rests on 5 critical layers: immediate access, 3 days, ready-to-eat meals, familiar comfort foods, no-cook options, water supplies, energy-dense snacks, short-term reserve, 3 weeks, basic pantry staples, canned, goods variety, cooking essentials, supplementary water meal components, medium-term storage, 3 months, bulk dry goods, preserved proteins, cooking oils, nutrition supplements, specialty items, extended duration, 1 year, sealed grain stocks, dehydrated, foods, freeze-dried meals, long-term proteins, strategic reserves, long-term cash, 5+ years, specially packed grains, millennium items, super stable foods, strategic resources, barter materials, but proper storage requires more than just acquisition. Master what I call preservation protocols, temperature control, cool storage zones, frozen sections, room temperature areas, heat-sensitive items, temperature monitoring, moisture management, humidity control, desiccant usage, vapor barriers, condensation, prevention packaging integrity, light protection, dark storage areas, UV-resistant containers, opaque packaging, light barriers, exposure, monitoring, oxygen, elimination, vacuum sealing, oxygen absorbers, modified atmosphere, inert gas flushing, barrier packaging pest, prevention, physical barriers, natural deterrents, monitoring systems, treatment protocols, prevention methods, implement what I call strategic stocking patterns, protein sources, freeze-dried meats, dried legumes, TVP products, canned fish, powdered, eggs, carbohydrate bases, whole grains, pasta varieties, rice selection flour stocks, ancient grains fats and oils, preserved butter, powdered fats, sealed oils, nut butters, coconut products, nutrition, insurance, vitamin stores, mineral supplements, green, powders, nutrient-dense foods, survival supplements. Most importantly, master what I call rotation systems, dating protocols, clear marking systems, expiration tracking, usage scheduling, replacement timing, inventory updates access, design, first in, first out, easy rotation paths, clear organization, visible dating, simple systems consumption, patterns, regular usage, planned rotation, waste prevention, skill, maintenance, taste, adaptation. Your storage strategy must include what I call critical redundancies, storage, methods, multiple techniques, different locations, varied containers, backup systems, alternative preservation, food types, different sources, various processes, multiple forms, alternate choices, backup options, nutritional sources, varied nutrients, multiple, vitamins, different minerals, alternative proteins, diverse energy sources. Remember, long-term food storage is not about hoarding, it is about creating sustained food security through intelligent design and systematic maintenance. A 5-year pantry is your ultimate insurance against uncertainty. It provides not just survival, but independence, not just food, but freedom, not just security, but sovereignty. Let others chase short-term solutions. You will build a food fortress that spans years, creating true independence through superior storage strategy. This is how the strategic prepper transforms basic sustenance into lasting food security. In ancient warfare, victory was determined not just by weapons, but by the systems that maintained them and the warriors who wielded them. Today, your preparation requires the same threefold mastery: the right tools, the right systems, and the right habits. I have studied how the most resilient households maintain their readiness, and I tell you, sustainable preparation demands this trinity of excellence. Imagine your preparation as a military campaign that must be sustained not for days or weeks, but for years and decades. Just as I once taught generals to build enduring armies, I now teach you to create lasting readiness through the perfect alignment of equipment, organization, and discipline. The foundation of long-term preparation rests on 3 pillars: essential, tools, food preservation equipment, storage optimization gear, monitoring devices, maintenance implements, processing systems, systematic organization, inventory management, rotation protocols, maintenance schedules, check procedures, documentation methods daily, habits, regular inspections, routine maintenance, skill practice, system updates, knowledge expansion. Begin with what I call tool mastery, the right equipment properly maintained, preservation tools, dehydrators with temperature control, vacuum sealers, with multiple settings, pressure canners for various altitudes, freeze dryers for long-term storage, temperature monitoring systems, storage equipment, mylar bags of various sizes, oxygen absorbers rated by volume, food-grade buckets with gamma seals, environmental monitoring devices, humidity control systems, processing gear, grain mills with various settings, food processors for bulk handling, packaging systems for different needs, label makers for clear organization, testing equipment for quality. Control, but tools alone are useless without systems. Master what I call organizational protocols, inventory systems, digital tracking methods, paper backup systems, location mapping, quantity monitoring, usage tracking rotation procedures, schedule management replacement timing, usage planning stock, movement update protocols maintenance programs, equipment checks, system testing, calibration schedules, repair protocols, replacement planning. Most importantly, develop what I call victory habits, daily practices that maintain readiness. Morning, procedures, equipment checks, system verification, stock assessment plan, review, task assignment, weekly routines, deep cleaning, detailed inspection, system testing, skill practice, knowledge review, monthly, protocols, complete inventory, system evaluation, equipment maintenance, skill assessment strategy. Update your preparation must include what I call System redundancy, backup tools, alternative equipment manual backups, spare parts, repair kits, emergency replacements, alternative systems, multiple tracking methods, various storage approaches, different preservation techniques, alternate organization schemes, backup documentation, habit, reinforcement, cross-training, skill sharing, knowledge transfer, practice sessions, performance review, learn to recognize what I call system signals, indicators of needed attention, tool warnings, performance changes, unusual sounds, efficiency drops, maintenance needs replacement indicators, system alerts, tracking discrepancies, rotation delays, organization, issues, documentation gaps, process, breakdowns, habit flags, routine disruptions, skill decay, knowledge gaps, practice lapses, discipline drift. Most critically, maintain what I call preparation rhythm, the steady beat of readiness, daily beat regular, checks, routine maintenance system updates, skill practice knowledge review, weekly tempo, deep cleaning, detailed inspection, system testing equipment, maintenance strategy review monthly, cadence, complete inventory, system evaluation equipment overhaul, skill assessment protocol update. Remember, long-term success in preparation comes not from sporadic effort, but from sustained excellence in tools, systems, and habits. A well-maintained dehydrator with a clear tracking system and regular usage pattern will serve you better than a dozen neglected pieces of premium equipment. Let others chase the latest gear or the newest system. You will build lasting readiness through the perfect integration of quality tools, efficient systems, and disciplined habits. This is how the strategic prepper transforms preparation from an event into a lifestyle. In ancient warfare, the army that best protected its supplies often emerged victorious, regardless of its size. Today, your storage methods determine whether your preparations sustain you for years or fail within months. I have studied the science of long-term storage, and I tell you, the difference between success and failure lies in the details of execution. Imagine your storage system as a series of fortified vaults, each designed to protect specific resources against specific threats. Just as I once taught generals to protect their supplies from both enemy and elements, I now teach you to shield your preparations from time, temperature, moisture, and pests. The foundation of fail-proof storage rests on 4 defensive lines: primary, protection, container selection and integrity, environmental control systems, pest prevention barriers, quality maintenance protocols, access management methods, secondary barriers, moisture barrier systems, oxygen control measures, light protection, layers, temperature stabilization, contamination, prevention, monitoring systems, environmental sensor networks, quality indicator placement, integrity check schedules, time tracking methods, condition assessment protocols, emergency backups, alternative, container options, backup location, preparation, replacement supply stocks, secondary system readiness, crisis response protocols, master what I call storage science, the technical foundations of preservation, temperature management, cool zones, 50-60 degree Fahrenheit, cold areas, 32-40 degree Lm, frozen sections, 0 degree RF, room temperature spaces, heat protection methods, moisture control, desiccant deployment, vapor barrier installation, humidity monitoring, condensation prevention, waterproof protection, oxygen elimination, absorber calculation, vacuum sealing, inert gas flushing, barrier packaging, seal verification. Your storage must implement what I call protection layers, physical barriers, container seals, shield materials, impact protection, access control, security, measures, chemical defense, oxygen removal, moisture control, preservation agents, quality maintainers, degradation, prevention, biological protection, pest prevention, mold control, bacteria inhibition, enzyme management, contamination, defense, learn to master. What I call storage optimization, space utilization, vertical stacking, wall mounting corner optimization, dead space usage, access path planning organization systems, clear labeling, location, mapping category, grouping, priority placement, rotation, access security integration, access control inventory, protection location, concealment resource distribution backup separation. Most importantly, understand what I call failure prevention, critical monitors, temperature tracking, humidity measurement, light exposure, air quality, pest detection warning systems, environmental alerts, integrity breaches, quality changes, time triggers, condition shifts, response protocols, immediate action, problem assessment solution, implementation, system, recovery prevention. Upgrade, remember, the most elaborate preparations are worthless if improperly stored. A simple bucket, properly prepared and monitored, will preserve food better than an expensive container system that's poorly maintained. Your storage must include what I call wisdom elements, time-tested techniques that enhance preservation, natural methods, bay leaf protection, diatomaceous earth, salt preservation, vinegar solutions, herbal defenses, traditional techniques, root cellar principles, cool room designs, dark storage methods, airflow management, thermal mass usage, modern integration, technology monitoring, digital tracking, sensor networks alert systems, data analysis, let others trust in containers alone. You will build complete storage systems where every element, from the smallest seal to the largest barrel, works in concert to preserve your preparations. This is how the strategic prepper transforms simple storage into preservation science. In ancient warfare, armies that practiced in peace triumphed in war. Today, your household survival depends on the same principle, regular, realistic training that prepares you for crisis before it strikes. I have observed how the most resilient families regularly test their preparations, and I tell you, drills transform theory into capability. Imagine your household as an elite unit that must maintain constant readiness. Just as I once taught generals to train their forces through realistic exercises, I now teach you to prepare your family through practical scenarios that test every aspect of your preparation. The foundation of effective practice rests on 4 training elements: scenario design, realistic challenges, progressive difficulty, multiple variables, time constraints, resource limitations, drill, execution, clear objectives, role assignments, performance, metrics, safety protocols, feedback systems, performance assessment, success criteria, failure analysis, improvement areas, capability gaps, strength recognition implementation, learning, lesson integration, system updates, protocol revision, skill enhancement. Strategy refinement. Begin with what I call basic battle drills, power failure response, immediate action steps, light source activation, communication checks, temperature management, security enhancement, water disruption, supply assessment, usage restriction, alternative sources, sanitation protocols, conservation methods, food system, test, no power cooking, alternative preparation resource management, waste minimization storage access, but basic drills are just the beginning. Master what I call complex scenarios, extended blackout, week-long simulation, resource tracking system, adaptation team coordination, community interaction supply chain, collapse, store closure response, inventory management, alternative sourcing, consumption adjustment trading protocols, natural disaster, evacuation practice, emergency protocols, resource mobility, communication systems, recovery procedures. Most importantly, implement what I call reality factors, time pressure, night operation, weather challenges, surprise elements, speed requirements, stress conditions, resource limitations, restricted supplies, equipment failures, system breakdowns, power constraints, water restrictions, human factors, fatigue effects, stress management team, dynamics, leadership challenges, morale maintenance, Your training must include what I call scenario progression, basic level, single system tests, known conditions, limited duration full resources, team support intermediate challenge, multiple systems, variable conditions, extended duration, limited resources, partial support, advanced training, system integration, unknown variables, sustained operation, minimal resources, independent action. Remember, drills are not games. They are serious preparation for serious situations. Each scenario should teach something new, reveal hidden weaknesses, and strengthen team capabilities. Develop what I call assessment protocols. Performance metrics, response time, resource efficiency, team coordination, system effectiveness, problem solving weakness, identification, equipment issues, knowledge gaps, skill deficits, system failures, communication breaks, improvement planning. Training needs equipment updates, system revisions, protocol changes, team development. Let others assume their preparations will work in crisis. You will know through regular testing, systematic evaluation, and continuous improvement. This is how the strategic prepper transforms theoretical readiness into proven capability. In ancient warfare, more armies fell to complacency than to enemy swords. Today, this silent killer threatens your preparations more than any external crisis. I have watched as the most elaborate preparation systems crumbled not from attack, but from neglect. And I tell you, complacency is your deadliest enemy. Imagine your readiness as a sword that must be constantly sharpened, lest it dull from disuse. Just as I once taught generals to maintain vigilance even in times of peace, I now teach you to fight the invisible enemy that would render your preparations worthless through neglect. The battle against complacency rests on 4 pillars of vigilance: constant awareness, daily mindfulness, threat recognition, pattern observation, change detection, warning identification, regular challenge, skill testing, system evaluation, knowledge updates, capability assessment, preparation audits, continuous improvement skill, enhancement system upgrades, knowledge expansion, protocol refinement strategy, evolution, disciplined maintenance, equipment care supply rotation system updates, documentation review, relationship nurturing. Learn to recognize what I call complacency, triggers, success traps, overconfidence, routine, comfort, preparation, pride, system trust, knowledge assumption time, deceptions, gradual decline, slow degradation, creeping neglect, priority shift, focus drift, resource, illusions, supply assumptions, equipment, reliability, skill retention, knowledge currency, system stability. Most importantly, implement what I call vigilance protocols, daily practices, readiness checks, system verification, supply assessment skill, review mindset maintenance, weekly challenges, preparation tests, knowledge quizzes, skill practice system, stress, team exercises, monthly evaluations, deep assessment, comprehensive review, strategy analysis, resource audit, performance measurement. Your battle against complacency must include what I call wake-up systems. Physical reminders, visual triggers, scheduled alerts, regular drills, system tests, equipment checks, mental stimulation, new scenarios, fresh challenges, knowledge expansion, skill development strategy, innovation team engagement, group exercises, shared responsibility, mutual accountability, combined training, collective assessment. Remember, complacency kills not through sudden failure, but through gradual erosion of readiness. A well-maintained minimal system will serve you better than an elaborate one left to decay. Learn to spot what I call decay indicators, physical signs, equipment neglect, supply expiration, system deterioration, maintenance delays, organization, breakdown mental, markers, skill rustiness, knowledge gaps, delayed responses, assumption increase, focus reduction, team symptoms, training lapses, communication breaks, unity erosion, responsibility shift, motivation decline. Most critically, maintain what I call anti-complacency. Habits, regular testing, equipment function system, operation, skill, proficiency, knowledge accuracy, team coordination, constant learning, new techniques, updated information, fresh perspectives, alternative methods, advanced skills, active engagement, community involvement, knowledge sharing, skill teaching system, improvement strategy development. Let others trust in their past preparations. You will maintain constant vigilance, fighting complacency through disciplined attention and regular challenge. This is how the strategic prepper transforms temporary readiness into lasting capability. In my final counsel to ancient generals, I would remind them that victory flows not from fortune's favor, but from superior strategy and relentless preparation. Today, as we conclude our journey through the 5 elements of victory, this truth remains unchanged. I have guided you through the principles that transform uncertainty into readiness, and I tell you now, your future security lies not in chance, but in choice. Imagine standing at the summit of preparation, looking back at the path we've traveled together. Just as I once taught generals to understand how individual battles fit into larger campaigns, I now show you how each element of preparation builds toward total readiness. Let us review the 5 elements of victory and their modern application. The moral law, unity of purpose in your household. Psychological warfare against panic, community before crisis. Team development shared. Mission, heaven. Reading seasonal patterns. Understanding weather impacts. Recognizing collapse signals. Timing your movements. Natural awareness, earth supply chain. Mastery storage zone, optimization, resource positioning, territory management, environmental adaptation, the commander. Household leadership, decision-making in chaos. Training coordination system. Management, strategic direction method, and discipline. 5-year pantry development tool and system mastery. Storage science. Regular drilling, constant vigilance. But understanding these elements is just the beginning. Your victory requires what I call strategic integration, unified application, element coordination system, synchronization, resource alignment, team cooperation, purpose harmony tactical implementation, daily practices, weekly protocols, monthly assessments, seasonal adjustments, yearly evolution, strategic evolution, continuous improvement, knowledge expansion, capability, enhancement system, refinement strategy. Advancement, most importantly, maintain what I call victory mindset, mental mastery, calm under pressure, clear decision-making, strategic thinking, tactical awareness, leadership presence, physical readiness, system maintenance, resource management, skill, proficiency, equipment, readiness. Supply rotation, spiritual strength, purpose clarity, mission focus, team unity, value alignment. Ethical foundation, your preparation journey has transformed you. You are no longer merely surviving, you are strategically thriving. This is what I call preparation mastery. Knowledge integration, understanding principles, applying lessons, sharing wisdom, teaching others, growing capability system. Harmony element, balance resource coordination team synchronization, protocol alignment strategy. Unity, continuous evolution, skill advancement, system improvement, knowledge expansion, strategy refinement, capability growth. Remember, true victory lies not in having the most resources, but in using them most wisely. Not in knowing the most, but in applying knowledge most effectively. Not in preparing the most, but in preparing most strategically. This is your final mandate, what I call strategic sovereignty, independence. Through design, resource control system, autonomy, decision freedom, action capability, strategic choice, security. Through strategy, threat awareness, response, readiness, resource resilience, system reliability, team capability, power. Through preparation, knowledge mastery, skill, proficiency, resource availability, system efficiency, team Unity. Let others trust in luck or hope in chance. You will create your security through strategic design, maintain it through disciplined action, and enhance it through continuous improvement. This is how the strategic prepper transforms uncertainty into opportunity, chaos into order, and preparation into power. The time for learning is never over, but you now possess the foundations of victory. Subscribe to our channel for weekly insights that build upon these principles. Comment below to share your strategic journey. Join our community of preparedness practitioners who understand that true security comes not from chance, but from choice. Remember, victory isn't luck, it's design, and you now know how to design it.